Redshift here, doing my part to shift perceptions out of the pink and into the red.
This is Forgotten Furion. I'm not afraid of the dark is afraid of me, and I'm back for another episode of Redshift Paradox, namely number 12. And about your response to M Craft's video on Nala Girl 504 and the Victor Knight kerfuffle. Firstly, kerfuffle, very nice, very nice. I was like, kerfuffle, I'm gonna have to remember that. If I've said it once, I've said it that many times. I may have land madness, but that is no excuse for land rudeness. I grew up around traditional Christian women, and they're extremely hypergamous, okay? Just as promiscuous and far more arrogant and spiritually fake than the average heathen woman. For example, I saw a commercial for Guts Church here in Tulsa, and there was a woman named Katie. And I knew Katie. I remembered her the second I saw her, and it's been like a decade or more, right? I was like, that's the chick. Okay, so my dad got mad at me one day for ignoring her and like basically like turning away from her while she was trying to talk because she wouldn't leave me alone. And I was just like, I didn't want to tell her like, look, I can't provide for you. I'm a teenager. My dad here right next to me punches me in the face, and I just don't care. Leave me alone. So I just basically was ignoring her. Well, he gets mad at me and all this, and you know, because she's pretty and whatever, even though she wore glasses and she don't have them on in the commercial naturally. But man, I looked down on her finger. Well, anyway, he beat the brakes off me and yelled at me, but whatever. I quit going to that church, one among many. And I look on her finger in that commercial, and she's married, and her wedding band is like the size of a thumb. A chunk of gold on it. It has a chunk of gold on it the size of like the thumbnail, but with the, you know, that's like a nugget on there. I was like, what is that? And then I look, and she don't have glasses on, and I'm just like, you're married, you're the eye candy, and you're there to bring more people to your mega church where all you do is sing for like 90% of the time, and then do a couple feel-good verses, collect the money, and bang out over and over and over. So it's basically like attention whoring, and that's it. And she's married, and it's like, why don't they get a single girl on there? Okay. So it's just, I call church a dating service for past, present, and future single mothers. Because even if they're married, they're Katie, fake, fake, superficial, talkative. And then I look out my window. There's a billboard of a girl posed polar opposite, even though she looks exactly the same. She's from a small town church where she married the pastor once he became the pastor, and it was like, because he had to go through training. I could have went through that same training and become that same person, and she liked me first, and I'm better looking and stronger and smarter than him. But I didn't want to play Mr. Good Church Boy, and I mean, it's got to work, because I remember whenever she was hit puberty, she was super duper concerned about just money and how things looked. I was like, my dad beats the brakes off me and they starve me, and you're worried about like how big the baptistry is. And I was like, man, this is nonsense. So I broke out, and yeah, part of me was like, oh, you should have stuck around. But no, I would have just at some point said screw this and been like, no, I'm not gonna be some kind of semi-castrated male who just sits around going, oh, my Bible, my Jesus, my songs, my pays the women's the money. It's sick. Okay, they don't follow the Bible even. They work. They're, like I say, I'm about to go into it, but I look out my window, there it is. I look on my TV, there it is. All right, same women that I personally know. What are the odds of that? Okay, this chick was on the phone book, and I'm like, really? You're on the phone book, you're on the billboard, the other one's on the TV. Tired of it. And they're so expensive. It's crazy. And they'd never pay a man's bills. Yeah, women just realize that, Christian women, that Jehovah or Yahweh, who is God, has more resources than Mammon. I agree with you that personal choices lead to physical and psychological changes in a person, which in turn brings about epigenetic changes. However, I also think that when you say that you mistakenly refer to the relative adaptation of God's creation as evolution, which is an overly used umbrella term, and is heavily co-opted by atheist thinking. So much so that a Christian like myself can hardly say evolution without people going, "Ree, you're an atheist, Ree?" I'm like, "No, Ree, no, Ree." And they're like, "Ree?" I'm like, whatever, okay. Nonetheless, men seem to be much more willing to subject ourselves to selective pressures from wherever, most likely due to the presence of testosterone, our larger sex and aggression centers in our brains, and the curse of Adam that God put on us through Adam just makes it far worse than it has to be. I already said it once, so I'll say it again. Thoughts on the thoughts inspired by alt MGTOW videos, Castration Nation, episode 77. I must have had that word in my conscience there or something. I believe that the concepts of order and entropy should be taken with a grain of salt, and that the statement that ordering a system increases its entropy should be viewed the same way as Einstein's theory of relativity viewed time. I believe that's important. Toti Ching in chapter 61 says the following: "What makes the great state is its being like a low-lying, down-flowing stream. It becomes the center to which tend all the small states under heaven. To illustrate, from the case of all females, the female always overcomes the male by her stillness. Stillness may be considered a sort of abasement. Thus it is that a great state, by condescending to small states, gains them for itself, and that small states, by abasing themselves to a great state, win it over to them. In the one case, the abasement leads to gaining adherence; in the other case, to procuring favor. The great state only wishes to unite men together and nourish them. A small state only wishes to be received by and to serve the other. Each get what it desires, but the great state must learn to abase itself." Elsewhere, the Toti Ching in chapter 28 says, "Who knows his manhood's strength, yet still his female feebleness maintains. As to one channel flow the manly drains. All come to him, yea, all beneath the sky. Thus he the constant excellence retains. The simple child again, free from all stains. Who knows how white attracts, yet always keeps himself within black's shade. The pattern of humility displayed in view of all beneath the sky. He, in the unchanging excellence arrayed, endless return to man's first state has made. Who knows how glory shines, yet loves disgrace, nor err, for it is pale. Behold, his presence is a spacious veil, to which men come from all beneath the sky. The unchanging excellence completes its tale. The simple infant man, in him we hail. The unwrought material, when divided and distributed, forms vessels. The sage, when employed, becomes the head of all officers of government, and in his greatest regulations he employs no violent measures." I believe also that these things should be viewed in contextual relativity. I liked your take on politics and DDJ and Chris Cantu, because I don't like the evil governments of men or DDJ or Chris Cantu. To me, the government is just corrupt, socialistic followers of the synagogue of Satan, for the most part. Not entirely, but for the most part. I wish it weren't so, but largely that's where we're pushing. And they're not spiritual Jews, meaning Christians, as Jesus was, being Christ-like himself as Christ. And I see DDJ, and Chris Cantu, you know how I see them. So, okay, I won't cover that. Yin and Yang both have their place in God's creation. Chameleon conservatives, I grew up around them. I just ranted on them a second ago. They don't even follow the Bible. They won't stop blaspheming the Word of God by working outside of the home, not usurp authority over men by not voting without registering for selective service. They gladly divorce their husbands while simultaneously pushing for one-sided misandric laws. I tore into a bit of Brit, now you mentioned her, over a year ago, okay? Maybe it was even 2 years ago. Because I got a woman that looks like her. I banged several women that, not several, 3 women that look like her. And then I did some things, maybe with a 4th. Okay, I'll count that one. I'll count it because, I don't know. Oral sex is sex. I don't know. Well, anyway, let's say, a handful of them I've banged that look exactly like her. So, to me, that kind of entitles me to be able to run my mouth to her, I don't know why. Maybe it's like an epigenetic change. Because I was like, hey, I can bully you because I'm the man and you're the woman. Or, like I need to set her straight. Like, okay, Genesis 3:16, the husband will rule over you. The Hebrew word for husband also translates to the word man. So as far as I'm concerned, a bit of a Brit is under my authority. All right. What was I calling her? Bratney? See, it just comes natural, man. It comes natural. I gotta tell her the what for. But anyway, I accidentally synchronized like a bajillion nudes, and I look, man, some of them have millions, literally millions of views on them, okay? So I was drilling her on not being a for reals anti-feminist or whatever, because I sent her the video by Groundwork for the Metaphysics of MGTOW titled on the absence of anti-feminist women in the anti-feminist community. And I was grilling her about that, and it came to my attention from some guys commenting on my face pictures, and I kept deleting them, and then I was like, where are all these pictures coming from? So I decided to scroll over, and I see my wiener, and I was like, oh snap, and I looked down, and it's like a 1 with just like an infinite zeros as far as as broad as the picture was, that's how many zeros were on it. And I was like, what? And then I looked, and then I was like, oh snap, these are the nudes I've been sending to these women. And then I was like, oh snap. So I scroll over, and the next one has like 9s, all 9s. And I was like, oh no. And I keep going, and it's just like my pupils dilated so hard and fast I couldn't even see anymore. It was just like, picture, that's another one. And it was just like nude, really nude, laying down, really nude, muscles nude. It's just nude. And then I started going through the list of women who I know for a fact saw them, she being on them, and I just was ranting all over everything. Like, why didn't you tell me this and that? And a couple of them respond back like, it ain't my fault. And I'm just like, whoa, how dare you? So anyway, Gen Z, after I got done with ranting with her, I want you to know that Gen Z, they're just pushing for gynocentric traditionalism. They're not going anywhere. So I'm just waiting for the tribulation. So just look to Gen Z for future predictions. I'm Forgotten Furian, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.
I address you tonight not as the President of the United States, not as the leader of a country, but as a citizen of humanity. We are faced with the very gravest of challenges. The Bible calls this day Armageddon, the end of all things.